Okay, we're going. We're on. So it amazes me. I don't think we did. I thought we did one of these tapes in September, but we didn't, did we? We
I
didn't
think
do
we
one in
missed one.
September. We've skipped twice now this year. I know it's a deterioration of the granite willpower that we've had before.
I disagree. I think that it is good process for longevity of our working creativity here. We've got to bend a little bit every now and again. September was just a flood. So it's my fault that we didn't meet in September. So I'm sorry.
That's not true. That's
We
not
all
true.
had our issues on the
Yeah.
calendar.
No,
Trying to
I
get
don't think it was your
busy
fault at
calendars
all.
to
Yeah.
work is
I totally agree with the bending. Totally agree with the bending. In fact, I'm probably the least disciplined person here. Yes, I think so. Well, are you all ready to chat some haiku?
Oh yeah.
Let's
Okay,
do
let me
it.
bring it up. I'm gonna share my screen. Well, before I do that, it's a pleasure seeing you, even though we missed a month. I know.
We can get back in the routine.
That's right. I need this routine. It helps me with my own discipline. Okay, here we are. So October 2023, right? So now this is our 36th recording, right? It's amazing, huh? Hello, little dog.
Crazy.
And then, so I've got this all in this color. Now, I put it in this color. Is this orange?
Yeah.
I put it in this color because it's Halloween. Now, is it pumpkin orange? I mean, I'm colorblind, so I can't.
It's a little light. It's a little yellow orange, but it's fine.
So it's in the spirit of the season. It feels
Yes,
like.
absolutely.
I definitely have some pumpkins that resemble that color.
Okay, well, just so you know, that's why it's here for.
There was a method to your madness.
There is occasionally. Okay, where do we want to start? Amy, Davin, me. What makes the most? Why don't we start with Amy?
Sure.
I love this haiku, Amy.
Thank
These
you.
haikus. You said you had 4, but you had to pick only 2.
It was so hard. I was like, maybe I should just send them all. So I chose
these two fit together nicely. Are they Canva images?
Yes, they are. Yes, I didn't take these, but they captured exactly what I was looking for.
Nice.
So I'll read this first one. It's sea lion welcomes each day with her nose to joy, savoring what is.
Look at that old sea lion. I don't know the difference between a sea lion and a seal, and I know there are ears or something that are different.
Yeah, and maybe I have the wrong one, but
sea lion has 3 syllables, so we can't be using seals, even if it is a seal. And look at this, everyone. I love this.
Their Canva image.
Yeah, I love the haiku.
Thank you. The waves, they don't stay. They are always only now. Learn from me, they say.
Great.
Isn't that wonderful? I mean, that's the kind of thing you could frame.
Yeah. Very, very, very pretty, very meaningful as well. I'm happy to start.
Thank you.
When our children were young, before they could talk, Allie, my wife, and I, we would wonder what they were thinking. What's going through their heads right now? You know, and when there's no way to learn otherwise, it's easy to imagine the deep and profound thoughts that must be generated by our brilliant little infants. It didn't take long for us to learn, though, that the thoughts of an infant don't climb very high up Maslow's hierarchy. I've heard this called the lizard brain, the primitive limbic system brain function in charge of things like fight or flight, hunger, and other basic needs. Uncomplicated by metacognition, the lizard brain is simple and powerful, feeding responses and behaviors over which we have very little control. The lizard brain is also tremendously meaningful. It's our most direct connection to animal behaviors, or said differently, it is the evolutionary vestige of the animal in us. I think it's also part of the joy we share in connecting with nature. Spending time in the world outside our four walls is just good for us. There's so much to learn from nature. It's a mistake to characterize metacognition as the only path to meaningful experience. For example, observing the things that create joy in my very lizard-brainy dogs. It's instructive. They celebrate as often as possible, whether it's someone returning home, someone filling their food bowl, or the always wonderful, joyful post-poop sprint through the yard. They can't help but express joy without giving it a second thought. There are, of course, less desirable implications of dog lizard brain behavior, but you take what you can get. As I studied Amy's sea lion, I love that it really has no choice or second thought to the thing we see in it and identify as joy. Unless there's a shark or an orca nearby, the sea lion is in that moment of joy. Even more profound is the wave. With no brain or nervous system, it provides symbolic testament to the essential truth that all we ever have is this very moment, the now. Everything else is an abstraction beyond our control. Nature and the lizard brain remind us daily to simplify, celebrate, and enjoy the moment.
I love that. Symbolically testify. It's a great line.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great haiku.
Thank you.
The joyful romp after a poop in the backyard.
I've argued for years that this should be a universal behavior.
I think the only way that that can happen is by role modeling. Vicarious learning.
We're gonna find one of those.
Okay. Brother Paul, in his book, In Praise of the Useless Life, a Monk's Memoir, which we will come back to, writes, several of the esteemed doctors and masters of my spiritual formation have been trees. Trees have often touched and molded my life of meditation, he says. Davin and I have recently been looking at spiritual formation from a scholarly perspective, looking at it as a process of lifelong learning. And so when I saw Amy's haikus, I thought, just like Brother Paul's trees, that communing with sea lions and experiencing ocean waves are key entry points to our spiritual formation, as is all of nature, especially if we observe it and experience it as meaningfully as Amy's haiku does. I love the experience of the sea lion, welcoming, savoring, joyful. Those are the qualities of being totally present to the moment. We could learn from these fellows, eh? And this present moment experience of the sea lion is elaborated by Amy's poem about the waves, which are impermanent and ever-changing. Learn from me, they say, as Amy writes, and perhaps that is the most important message here. We have the most profound learning environment surrounding us at every moment, Mother Nature, and we don't need a textbook nearly as much as we need a mind and a spirit totally present, totally expectant, and totally open to swim in the waves of wonder which wash over us ceaselessly.
Swim in the waves of wonder. That's beautiful.
A poem in response to poem.
Yeah.
And I love those haikus and pictures, Amy.
Thank you. Well, it was, I write a little bit about this, but I was down in Monterey, California for a few days with a friend of mine. And as I left, on the airplane, I just wrote haiku about every different experience that I'd had. And it was this beautiful way to kind of encapture that that weekend, that time was through haiku. So I was so thankful for this practice that we have
Beautiful. That's
built
wonderful.
together. Yeah. All right. So recently, I spent a few days on the Monterey Peninsula in California with my best friend. On a morning walk near the harbor, I saw a single sea lion perched atop a rock. She was settled with her back arched upward and her nose to the sky. She sat there for several moments. I stood there for the same moments, her nose tipped to the sky in joy, my eyes in spirit, drinking in her calm, her peace, wondering what lessons she had to teach. There was something so peaceful and calm as waves and birds, other sea lions called, yet how still she sat. Her essence whispered to me, sit still, feel the breeze, look at the clouds, let the sun's rays warm your soul. It's all here, all you need. I don't know why sea lions put their nose in the air. It's common to find pictures of sea lions on land in that familiar position. It looks like joy to me. Their heads back, their noses up, still sipping and savoring the air, the sounds. The sea lion, just like the waves, are always only now. They have lessons to teach us, things to say. Waves, sea lions, sea otters, and pelicans show us when we pause to see how to advance our peace and live fully. I think they all show us how to be.
That sea lion posture is reminds me of a yoga pose. I forget the
upward dog or downward dog.
Is it downward dog? Is that what it is? When you're sort of
at the upward dog, yeah, or yeah.
You can tell I'm not a yogi, but maybe it's a universal.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought. I did say to my friend, I'm like, it just looks like a yoga pose. Like she's just sitting there. So anyway, there was something really profound about that moment. So thank you for letting me share through haiku.
What time is it? You mean now? That's a yogi posed question. Okay. It's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Okay. Davin, you want to go next? You want me to?
Sure. I can go next.
Look at this. Ooh.
Kentucky sunset. Cistercian prayer and chant. 3 days retreating.
And these are your pictures, right?
These are my pictures. Might be one of Michael and I traded all my pictures. I got all his pictures. I think these are mine, but I think there could be a few that Michael took too.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's the Abbey. This is, as we'll discuss here, that's the Abbey of Gethsemane in Kentucky, Trappist, Kentucky. And that's it in the background there behind the tree. That's a distant view of the Abbey that you see up close in the picture above. And it's just stunning. Yeah, stunningly beautiful. Every aspect of it is stunningly beautiful.
That's amazing.
And that's sunrise coming up.
Mm.
So, Amy, you want to go first? You want me to?
Sure, I'll go first. Okay. How did the word retreat come to be used for times of personal and spiritual renewal? It's probably a reference to retreating from the usual cares and concerns for a time of silence, solitude, and solace. Yet, doesn't a retreat result in an improved and strengthened life? Isn't the goal of time away in thin places growth, reorienting, and renewal? It's about moving forward in our understanding of self and our relationship to the larger world and the divine. Kentucky sunsets, or sunsets in general, prayers, chants, probably times of silence and good friends, were 3 days of advancing depth, building relationship, pondering insights, slow understanding of wide grace. The gifts of this retreat are an advance, a forward movement of growth. My friend and mentor Ray prefers the word advance instead of retreat. I find words endlessly fascinating, and that in this case, I wonder if the way we use words changes the energy and outcomes. Retreat means to move backward, away from, whereas advance means to move closer to. I wonder if this was a time of advancing, not retreating.
Nice. So I love how you all can always return to the idea of a thin place. I love that. And it is a thin place. Man, it is really a thin place.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah. And I always make the joke about retreats that you're running away. Yeah, run away.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back. So I'll refer again to to Brother Paul's book. I pulled out another one of his books that I have as well, a book of poems. And one thing that's so beautiful about him, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about him later, but he's a person who's written many things, and so that's part of his, I think, his vocation. So anyway, so Dr. Paul Quinone, here I've spent time with him and I can't remember how to pronounce his name, in his wonderful book, In Praise of the Useless Life, a Monk's Memoir, says, and I'm jumping around the page a little bit now, he says, I'm on permanent vacation. Monastic life is essentially a vacating, an emptying out, not unlike vacating an apartment and living without furniture or even without an apartment. To live in solitude is one of the most difficult things for a person to endure. Vacating means a personal emptying out of the clutter within mind and heart. Certainly, a clearing of the non-essential and even some essential furniture to make room for God. Radically, there must be an interior journey into a wilderness to be alone, free of the world, and at rest in God. Maybe it's retreating to that. This vacating he talks about here, this emptying of the mind and all its clutter, is an essential element of the contemplative life and has been something I've been working on personally. So when Davin and I realized we were going to be at a conference just down the road from the abbey where Brother Paul lives and where the great writer Thomas Merton lived, it was an opportunity of a lifetime. Brother Paul writes so well, and Davin and I had the privilege not only of meeting him, but also he graciously took us on a tour to Thomas Merton's cabin. I know. Excuse me, where Merton wrote so many of his books, poems, letters, and more. Going to the Abbey of Gethsemane, where Brother Paul has been for, as I've always wanted to do for years, and traveling there like so many other people was a pilgrimage. There isn't time to share our entire experience. I've spent time in monasteries before, but never at one where silence was the rule and talking was only allowed in certain spaces. One of the joys of this retreat was spending time with Davin, even though, actually, especially because much of that time was in silence. There's a certain relationship that occurs, I think, when people spend time together in a sacred space. I'm eager to return to the Abbey if I have the opportunity again, but regardless, spending time in a place where silence, where vacating is the rule and not the exception, is a high priority for me over the rest of my life course.
Nice.
Was Brother Paul, was he the author of that haiku book that inspired this?
Yes. In The Art of Pausing, with Judith Valente. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's an important connection to note. That's so cool.
And guess what? Davin and I signed and sent him a copy of our book.
That's so great.
And I pointed out I put a little marker there because we mentioned his name in The Art of Pausing. Yeah. He's so good. So wonderful. And I sent him some haiku cards too. So
good.
Send thanks.
Yeah.
So
all right, go ahead, Davin.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Excuse me. I have never taken a prayer retreat, let alone a 3-day silent retreat. I've had retreats, of course, but never one with the very clear and strict focus on prayer only. I started reading Thomas Merton in college and have dreamed of spending time at his abbey, the Abbey of Gethsemane in Trappist, Kentucky. It's an abbey of the OCSO, Order of Cistercians of the Strict Observance, a branch of the Benedictines. Living in Dayton, Ohio, the abbey is only 3 hours down the road. But when my primary academic conference was being held in Lexington, Kentucky, I no longer had an excuse to not visit the abbey. Even better that the inimitable Michael Croth was able to join me for the conference and the retreat. The spare beauty of the abbey against the backdrop of the rolling Kentucky hills is stunning. But even more remarkable is the sense of a place where everything revolves around prayer. The abbey exists for prayer 7 times a day, beginning at 3:15 a.m. and ending at 8:15 p.m. The community gathers for communal prayer, chanting the liturgy of the hours. If you're in a meeting, it stops for prayer 7 times a day. If you're breaking bread, it stops for prayer. If you're plowing a field, it stops for prayer. The life of a Cistercian monk is a life devoted to and revolving around prayer. And the feeling of the place reflects that focus. You can feel that it is a place of prayer and deep reflection. It is, as the Cistercian monk Paul Quignon has said, a useless life, but an incredibly beautiful and important one. And I can't wait to return.
Wow. Did you have to get up at 3:15 for the first prayer?
We didn't have to. I made it one day, and Michael made it one day.
That's rough.
Yeah, and then there's mass 2 hours later, every day.
Yeah, there's 7 things which they do every 7 sacred pauses. As Macrina, Macrina White, she wrote the book 7 Sacred Pauses.
I have it right here.
Yep. Those are they. And
wow, what a fantastic opportunity. I love that.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I've really had, kind of leading into my haiku, I've really had the most remarkable 2 months, starting with the Camino and then going to Gethsemane. And actually at our conference, we talked about spiritual formation too. So that was related. And then Davin invited me to come up to Dayton, and he put me up, it was kind of, it's like Daniel Boone, or, it's like Uncle Jeb, coming to, Hollywood to stay at Davin's house. But they were so gracious. But the key part, besides getting to hang out with their family, which was fabulous, really, their family's amazing, was getting to get to tour and see the University of Dayton, which is a Marianist university. I had no idea what that was until Davin moved there. And then what's the name of that place we went to, Davin, where the Marianist?
Mount St. John.
Mount St. John. Maybe we'll talk about later. I don't know. But that was another just terrific time. So it's been when you say is my sabbatical over, it's like coming back to reality come January. So I'm savoring this time. Okay, let's do this. I know everybody's on a schedule here. Isn't that beautiful? That is morning. The sun came up and beauty, 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 beauty. Do I have 2 things here? No, I just have this. Sunrise on the trail, together, though by ourselves, light pours on us all.
And that's your picture, right?
That's my picture. It's either my picture or Shane's. I'm not sure.
So amazing. How many days did you walk on the trail?
5 or 6. We went 80 miles. So now we're up to 140 miles, and next year we're hoping to do 100 from now on. Just it's a matter of our schedule. It's really what it is. But we also got to go to the Prado Museum in Madrid, which I'd not been to before. So anyway, so who's up?
I can go. A universal truth. The sun rises and sets on us all. We are together and yet so often by ourselves. Nature, retreats, pilgrimages all serve as waypoints on our individual paths. These moments and days outside of the quotidian whisper or sometimes shout truths. Slow down, notice, be here now, stop running ahead, notice the path the sun traces through the sky each day, each season. The same and yet constantly changing. Light, wisdom, gentle truths, and love pours on us all. The image of pouring is an image of grace, of expansiveness and abundance. Light, love, truth. It's not a trickle, it's not shallow, it's not just a sprinkle, but it's poured out on us all. Such a poignant reminder when we look at the news of the world with wars, divisions, and violence on such a seemingly widespread scale. The sun rises, the sun sets. We are all, every individual, regardless of the labels attached, alone and yet together. Feel the pouring of light, of love, of hope and joy. May it be so.
Nice.
I love how you talked about pouring.
I love that you use that word, pouring.
All right. Sunrise is my favorite time of day. Hiking and backpacking are my favorite outdoor activities. Stands to reason then. Sunrise on the trail is one of the best things ever. I haven't hiked the Camino, but I hope to one day. In the meantime, I'll live it vicariously through Michael. The history is likely palpable as you take the same paths, kick the same rocks, and view the same horizon that so many have for 1,000 years. It also expands the sense of being alone, though together. Since no one can take a pilgrimage for you, it must be accomplished by the individual. Yet, you must always be aware of those who have gone before, like additional companions on the journey. Every additional soul on the path increases the depth of the experience. As the sun rises, the pilgrims plod along, step by step, accomplishing the most mundane human task, walking. Somehow, though, this most ordinary of activities generates the most extraordinary experiences, the greatest illumination, the deepest reflection, the longest vision. In my mind, the pilgrim is a foil to the thrill seeker. I suppose it's possible a pilgrimage could include skydiving, but it seems to cut against the grain of the horizontal, long game view of a transformational journey, a journey that unearths the extraordinary through the ordinary. That's where true illumination is created.
Wow.
That was great. So good.
Yeah. You too can skydive the Camino. You know, one of the things that's disappointing about the Camino, and it's not overly disappointing, and it should be expected since everybody on the Camino is selling things. You know, they're coming through. That's part of the economics, but it's just part of the commoditization and the selling of things. You know, so you go to, you know, you can buy, you know, this video of a trip that I took and this and that and the other. It's a little disappointing, but then I get Andrew McCarthy's book about walking with his son, and I say, well, yeah, I'm glad he talked about that, you know, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the preface to the 3rd edition of The Art of Pilgrimage, which I also happen to have here with me, which I took with me on the first year, Phil Cousineau writes, if the gods smile upon us and the light is right, on pilgrimage we may even catch a glimpse of infinity. Then he quotes Saul Bellow, who said, seek the depths or else. Or else, Cousineau adds, we live our days on the surfaces. I often ask myself if I'm living way too much on the surfaces, way too much concern with matters that don't matter much. Giving myself opportunities to immerse myself in the deep begins to normalize it so that the profound depth of experience is less the exception and more the expectation, more a way of life. For monks like those Davin and I shared time with at the Abbey of Gethsemane, living in the sacred is the ordinary, and spending time seeking the depths, knowing that they will always live on the surface at times, is life. This seems like something I'd like to share more often. Kusino says that the longing for a form of travel that responds to a genuine cri de coeur, cry from the heart, a longing for a taste of mystery, a touch of the sacred, has been answered by pilgrimage, a transformative journey to a sacred center. To people the world over, he says, pilgrimage is a spiritual exercise. Many times in my life, I have had this cry from the heart. For pilgrimage to be a practice of long-term formation, then it can't just be a one-time journey to Santiago de Compostela, but again, a regular part of yearly activities. This photo was taken as the sun was rising one morning on our second year of travel on the Camino de Santiago. My son Shane and I are taking it in segments rather than the whole 500 miles in one walk. And this particular morning, we started alone in the dark. And as the sun rose, we could start to pick out others on the trail. And you can see them in the picture. On the trail, as in life, we are alone and together at the same time. This community on the trail is always with you, yet you walk the trail alone. You walk the trail alone, yet God is always at your side.
Amazing.
And that are the Caminos du jour.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm anxious to read some more writing that you do about the Camino sometime whenever you get it done.
Yeah. I need to start writing my essays again. I need to put pen to paper.
I love the theme this month of it was all about different experiences and different ways of travel.
Yeah, was your trip to Mexico a pilgrimage, or was it a joie de vivre versus a cri de coeur?
I don't even know what you're saying.
I don't either. I'm just, was that Latin?
French? I don't know.
I don't know what it was. Anyway, it sounded like fun.
Yes, yes.
Okay, anything else for the good of the cause, my friends? I love working with you. I just love it. So it forces me to go deeper and in community, which is just fabulous. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording.